From historic graveyards that are roamed by the spirits of those laid to rest within, to military forts harboring the ghosts of those who served on site centuries past. Are you sure you're ready to brave some of the most haunted places in Charleston, South Carolina? Number 5. The Unitarian Church Graveyard. The Unitarian Church Graveyard is a historic cemetery located in Charleston, South Carolina, that acts as a final resting place to many notable Charlestonians, including Revolutionary War soldiers, early settlers, and prominent African Americans. This prominent yard is also home to the Unitarian Church, a historic church that dates back to the 1770s. The church has played an important role in Charleston's history as a whole, serving as a place of worship, as a meeting place for civil rights activists, and as a shelter for victims of natural disasters. The Unitarian Church Graveyard is said to be haunted by the spirits of those buried there, and both staff and visitors have reported seeing apparitions and hearing strange noises while walking through the cemetery. Some have even claimed to feel the touch of ghostly hands or to see objects moving on their own. One of the most famous legends associated with this graveyard is that of Annabelle Lee. According to this legend, Lee was a young woman who died sometime through the 1800s and that was buried in the graveyard, and visitors have reported seeing her ghostly form walking through the cemetery, clad in a white dress. Number 4. The Powder Magazine. The Powder Magazine is a historic building located in Charleston, South Carolina. Built in 1713, the Powder Magazine served as a storage facility for gunpowder and other explosives during the colonial period. The Powder Magazine played an important role in the American Revolution and was used as a military hospital through the Civil War. The building has been preserved and is now open to the public as a museum. Chillingly, there are reports of hauntings and paranormal activity within the Powder Magazine, with visitors telling of hearing unexplained noises and seeing apparitions while touring the museum. Some have claimed to feel a sense of unease or to experience sudden drops in temperature. One of the most famous stories associated with the Powder Magazine is that of the Lady in Red. According to this legend, a ghostly woman clad in a red dress haunts the building and is possibly the ghost of a former resident. Number 3. The Circular Congregational Church Graveyard. The Circular Congregational Church Graveyard is a historic cemetery located in Charleston, South Carolina. The graveyard was established in the late 18th century and is the final resting place to many notable Charlestonians, including to early settlers, veterans of domestic wars, and prominent social figures. This graveyard is also home to the Circular Congregational Church, a historic chapel that dates back to the 1680s. Like our first church, this church has also played an important role in Charleston's history, serving not only as a place of worship, but also as a hospital through the Civil War, and as a meeting place for civil rights activists during the 1960s. The Circular Congregational Church Graveyard is said to be haunted by the spirits of those buried there, and both staff and visitors have reported seeing apparitions and hearing strange noises while walking amongst its rows. Some have even claimed to feel the touch of ghostly hands or to see objects move on their own. One of the most famous legends associated with this graveyard is that of Sue Howard Hardy. According to this legend, Hardy was a young woman who died in the 1800s and was buried in the graveyard, and many have reported seeing her ghostly figure walking about in a white dress and holding a bouquet of flowers. Number 2. Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter is a historic sea fort located in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina, that's best known as the site of the first battle of the American Civil War, which took place on April 12th of 1861. During this confrontation, Confederate forces bombarded the fort, which was occupied by Union soldiers, forcing them to surrender after a 34-hour bombardment. The battle marked the beginning of a long and bloody conflict that would shape the course of American history as a whole. Following the fight, Fort Sumter remained a symbol of the Civil War and its impact on the nation, and today it acts as part of the National Park Service and is open to visitors who want to learn more about its role in American history. Not surprisingly, there are many stories of hauntings and paranormal activity within Fort Sumter, with some reporting feeling a sense of unease or sadness while on site, and others of seeing ghostly figures and hearing unexplained noises. One of the most famous stories associated with Sumter is the legend of the Gray Man. According to this legend, a ghostly figure dressed in gray appears on the beach near the fort before hurricanes or other major natural disasters. The Gray Man is said to be the spirit of a man who died in a shipwreck near the fort and that now warns people of impending danger, lest they suffer the same fate. In addition to the Gray Man, there have also been reports of other ghostly apparitions and strange sounds at Fort Sumter, some of which that include the ghostly figures of both Union and Confederate soldiers, and others of hearing the phantom sounds of cannon fire or of marching footsteps. Number 1. The Old City Jail. The Old City Jail is a historic building located in Charleston, South Carolina, that was completed in 1802 and served as a jail until 1939. During its more than 130 years of operation, this jail housed a variety of criminals, including pirates, Civil War prisoners, and some of Charleston's most notorious figures. Conditions in the jail were notoriously harsh, and prisoners were often subjected to overcrowding, disease, and inhumane treatment. Incidentally, the building's dark history has made it a popular destination for those interested in the supernatural. There are many stories of hauntings and paranormal activity at the Old City Jail, with visitors telling of a sense of unease or sadness while on site, and others reporting seeing ghostly figures or hearing unexplained noises. One of the most famous stories associated with the jail is the legend of Lavinia Fisher, Charleston's first female serial killer. According to this legend, Fisher and her husband John lured unsuspecting travelers to their inn, where they would rob and murder them, and it's told Lavinia's ghost still haunts the Old City Jail, along with the spirits of the many other prisoners who died within its walls. In addition to the spirits of former prisoners, there have been reports of ghostly apparitions and strange sounds at the Old City Jail, with visitors also telling of hearing the sounds of footsteps, rattling chains, and voices. While these claims are unverified, they do add to a sense of history and intrigue surrounding the Old City Jail, making it a popular destination for those interested in the otherworldly, which is why, in my opinion, it's the perfect choice as this list's most haunted place in Charleston. Thanks for joining me for this list of some of the most haunted places in Charleston, South Carolina. If you enjoyed hearing about these histories and hauntings, subscribe to my channel, like this upload, and share me with anyone you feel could use a good scare. Pleasant dreams.